Gold. It's a live show, and we have today a special guest, Sergeant Frank Barry. Thank you so much for being here with us today. I know this may be very sensitive, subject, but hearing of your involvement in the rescue effort during 9/11, and what you and your team has gone through, and it's very traumatic. And I was hoping that if you can share your experience that day.
Okay, the day started
Right.
with I was I was an instructor at the Court Officers Academy,
Okay.
and we're having what's called an in-service class that day,
Okay.
where veteran court officers would come back to get recertified in various things, and about defensive tactics like the baton, pepper spray, also CPR, things like that. And the day was starting, I was sitting at my desk, having a cup of coffee, and the building seemed like it shook. And we didn't know what happened. And we went to the window that was facing them, and we saw, the first tower with the World Trade Center was on fire.
Okay.
And, it was on fire, it was blazing, and we could hear the fire trucks coming, we could hear the police sirens, and you could kind of see, we were on the 12th floor, you could kind of look down and see a little bit of what was happening. And at that point, 3 of my fellow instructors volunteered to go down, and at this point I did not volunteer to go down.
Okay.
I was staying at my post in the academy. 3 of my fellow instructors volunteered to go down, and they were very, very brave to do it. No one ordered them to do it. They were driven to do what was right, to protect and to serve. And one is Chief Joseph Basilari Jr.
Okay.
He's now Chief Al Muscola, and Captain Andrew Wender. They had lower ranks back then, but that's their titles now. And the 3 of them went down to the World Trade Center to try and help people. They went inside the tower and they worked their way up to the 51st floor, and on the way up helped the firefighters, and on the way down helped the firefighters and helped get people to safety out of that tower. And the way we communicated, the ones that stayed, we had these phones, push-to-talk, called Nextel phones.
Okay.
And we could talk to them, they could talk to us with the Nextel. When the second tower was hit, the Nextel stopped working. And so we lost contact with them. And at that point, they asked for, we were talking, I shouldn't say they, we were talking among ourselves, and more people decided to go down. I was one of the people that went down, and 5 of us went down there. Okay. And when we went down, we had these, if you see with the police officers, just a regular radio. Right. They work like our radios with quarters work like a walkie-talkie. Right. And when we got down, we were in range, the walkie-talkies worked, and we knew, what was happening. Right. When we were down there, we were talking to them, they were talking to us, we were able to talk to each other, and we're helping people out a lot. And the tower, the second tower was hit, the first tower was hit, none of the towers came down yet. And by the way, I didn't want to miss anybody's name, but it was, John Sevilla, he's a retired captain now. Captain William Harry Thompson, I'll talk about him a little bit later. Sure. I was with a Catherine Negron, and we also had she's a retired captain now, Captain Patricia May Reno. Now she's she's retired Captain Pat Mack now. Okay. We went down there, and before the towers fell, everybody felt very effective helping people. We were getting people. I was by what was called Building 5. Okay. And as people were coming down, I was directing people that looked injured, helping them to triage, people who were not that injured, directing them away from the building, sending north to where the courts are. Right. Okay, and we were just following I was following. The people who were around me were Port Authority police officers. Okay. And I was just following their lead, trying to help them out. Okay. And at that moment, before the towers fell, personally myself, I thought I was doing a very good job doing things. For helping out. Right. Doing the best I could to help out. But when the first tower collapsed, and the first thing I'd say about that is when our 3 friends who were there first, they escaped death by a margin of seconds because they got out of that tower. When they got out of that tower, that's when that tower collapsed. Where I was outside a place called Building 5. Building 5 World Trade Center. It had a little bit of distance from the tower that fell, but not that much, because when the tower started collapsing, I was outside the entrance of Building 5,
Okay.
and I looked up. The sky was turning black. It was a beautiful blue sky. I looked up. It was turning black. And I was at the entrance, and I ran into that entrance of Building 5 World Trade Center as fast as I could. All the rubble came down, and while I was in there, you know, the
It
windows
fell
were like,
on you.
if you can imagine, let's say a supermarket, you
Right.
know, all glass windows, and, you know, you could see out. When everything came down, it
There's
became
nothing
completely
there.
dark.
Wow.
And I was trapped inside. I was trapped inside with she's now a lieutenant, a Sergeant Catherine Negron, and we were trapped inside. And the second tower, we must have been in there a little while, because the second tower collapsed while we were in there. It was like an earthquake again, and the darkness was even worse. And I can tell you my own experience in there. At that point, I kind of felt that that this was it. You know, we weren't going to get out of there. It seemed like it was covered up. It was completely dark.
Right.
We had these little pen lights,
Right.
you know, that we had, but that seemed to be about it. And I remember praying and feeling that, okay, you know, this is it. I was raised a Roman Catholic. I knew the act of contrition. I was praying the act of contrition. And just a feeling came over me, very, very strong feeling that it's going to be all right. And I kind of interpreted that almost like a near-death type of thing, where
Right.
I thought, okay, you know, this is it. He's, you know, God is telling me, all right, you know, your sins are forgiven.
Right.
You know, I'm going to welcome you home. But like a second, 2 seconds after that, firefighters smashed through the wall and said,
Wow.
everybody gather with us. And they took us out the other side of Building 5.
Wow. That's a miracle.
Yeah,
Definitely.
It really was. I really felt, you know, as much as this horrible was, when I look back and I realized that, you know,
That
God was
moment,
reaching out to me
right.
at that moment. I was, you know, that I really, really needed God, and He was telling me He was there.
Right. It is very tough, and I can just only imagine what you've been through since you were there.
Right.
And I know it's not easy talking about it, and people ask you, and you have to bring those memories back, and you have to feel that moment or live that moment all over again,
Right.
to just even describing it, and I can sense it. But you know what? It is something that, as you said, that, you know, you had angels, you have. You know, the wonderful fire, you know, the fire department people who were there right then at that, you know, at that moment, and helped you and your team out of there, which is brilliant, which is great, you know, and thank you for doing this, and thank you to everyone. You know, maybe I'll miss some people, but, you know, for everyone who do everything every day for all of us, it's a huge sacrifice, I would say,
Yeah.
that people do it, and we should not take it for granted for anyone. That's for sure. And I am sure that, you know, talking about this, it must be a big effect on your family also. Tell me, what were they going through at that point of time? And